Fellas, if you don't believe it now. Women fantasize about men with fit physiques. The proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the novel romance book covers. These books sell 51 million units annually and make around $1.44 billion annually. Check the stats. That is the stats on these. And these romance novels are bought almost exclusively by women. Now, there might be a guy or two out there that's buying these novels. No judgment, big homie. You do what you do. But almost exclusively, these books are bought by women. And I'll guarantee you this, those books would not sell nearly as much if they had a guy on there with a dad bod. As a matter of fact, they'll probably sell like two copies, and both of those copies were probably bought by the author themselves. But no dad bods are ever on any of these covers, and yet a lot of guys are still in denial about how women fantasize about men with fit bods. Now, there's a couple of reasons why women will not admit this. And I'll still get women in the comment section talking about the physique doesn't matter. That has nothing to do with it. We like a guy that's respectful and that's nice and that has a good personality and makes us laugh. Yes, that's fine and dandy. I do believe that. But this is irrefutable evidence right here. You can't, I mean, numbers do not lie. Men lie, women lie. Numbers do not. Statistics are factual, actual. $1.44 billion annually, and that was only this year. I'm not talking about in years past. See, the thing is, women are ashamed of admitting what type of body type that they lust over. A lot of chicks will do some weird things to guys that are in shape. Guys that are in shape have seen the more lustful side of women that most guys do not see. The average guy is probably not going to think that Susie over here is a freak because he only sees her business casual side. He only sees her corporate human resources mask that she wears all the time. But when a fit guy comes along behind closed doors, I mean, she's doing some things to him. She's talking about, hey, look, I can get my homegirl to come and join in. Things of that nature. This stuff really happens, fellas, and it mostly happens to guys that are fit. Now, am I saying that guys that aren't fit have these type of experiences? Sure, I'm pretty sure they do. But when a fit guy comes in, he's gonna see a whole other side of women. Just like these romance book novels, it's very telling. This is why it sells so much because the guy on the front cover is going to give the woman a fantasy to think about, right? And the guy that she's fantasizing about is not a guy with a beer belly hanging over his belt buckle, right? It's not a guy with a beer belly that covers his meat and that gets winded after a flight of stairs, and a guy that wears a size 40 in the waist, right? A guy that wears a size 38 in the freaking waist and has a whole bunch of fat covering his face up and things of that nature. And it sounds harsh, but I want guys to understand. I want this message to get clear that these are the type of guys that these women fantasize about. This should be proof. But even after this, guys are still gonna, deny it and things of that nature. But this should be proof. Every time you think about, hey man, why am I not getting the results that I want? Why am I being overlooked? Really and truly look at your physique, okay? It's not the end all be all, but it is a major reason. Your physique could be the difference between you getting overlooked and fantasized over. Literally, literally, literally. Even for guys that are tall, I get the tall argument all the time. Hey, look, tall dudes that are out of shape, trust and believe they have trouble too. Now, tall dudes that are in shape, they're gonna slay, right? They're gonna slay the game. They're gonna run the game. I'm not even finna sugarcoat stuff, but that's besides the point. The only reason I said that is because it's not just height alone. It's also the physique. Get your physique in order, and you're gonna start seeing a side of women that is gonna quite honestly shock you, and maybe you're gonna start looking at them a little different. Like, dang, I kind of been wrong. I've been told this fallacy, and I've never seen this side before. All these chicks, why do they go to Las Vegas to these shows, these Chippendales? Why do they go to strip clubs, and why do they hire these guys at bachelorette parties and girls only parties and stuff like that? And I know a lot of guys have their opinions about these, okay? And that's cool. You can have your opinion about them. But the fact still remains that they're not hiring a guy with a dad bod. They're not hiring a guy that is 40 pounds, 50 pounds overweight to come dance. And they're sure as hell not paying them. These guys get paid. These are the type of guys that women secretly fantasize about. Now, they're not going to say it out loud because they're going to get shamed. A lot of guys are going to come out and lash back at them. It's kind of like this. Let me give you guys an example. It's exactly like how a man says, I don't want a chick that is super big. I don't want a girl that can out eat me at any time of the day. Like she could eat more cheeseburgers, more nachos, more tacos, more ice cream than I ever can in my life. And no man ever said they don't want that. And all of a sudden, here come these feminists talking down on this guy and shaming him and telling him, hey, you can't say that, and that's this and that's that, that's phobic and all that good stuff. Kind of the same way with women. That's kind of why they keep it to themselves, because they don't want guys getting on their case. But behind closed doors, in the underworld, right? And where stuff goes down, where a chick that you think is this corporate 9 to 5 chick, and she's just so respectful and comes in with a cute little blouse and cute little glasses and stuff. Behind closed doors, she is fantasizing about a dude that is jacked, that is ripped, and that has a good physique. And I know what a lot of guys are thinking, like, oh, but they're never with those guys, and that's cap because I never see them with them. Well, that's mainly because there's really not that many guys that are in shape like that. There's really not many guys that have a fit physique like that. So that's why you don't really see them with them that much. But best believe if they had the option, they're going to choose that guy that is built, that has a fit physique. It arouses them on a natural level. That is why they're going to hire these guys that are in shape. Okay, I already said this just a few minutes ago. But think about it. These guys are getting paid by women. Okay, these guys are getting paid by women, and a lot of times the guy is the one paying for the woman. It's vice versa, and that's the power, man. That's the power of tapping into that fantasy. If you happen to give a crap, right? That's the power of it, is that you have a lot more leverage. You're gonna have a lot more options, and you're gonna see a different side of a lot of these young ladies. It'll actually shock you, and it might actually, I'm not gonna say scar you, but it might skew your reality a little bit as to how a lot of these chicks operate and act. Because on the surface, like I said, all of these young ladies got this AR human resource face on, but here they are with this romance novel that has a buff guy, and then the romance novel gets real explicit. I don't know if you guys have ever read any of these novels, but these novels get pretty damn explicit. It's gonna start talking about, how she's getting dominated and how she's getting manhandled by this guy and how he's strong. That's the thing, man. That's the thing with the fantasy part. The reason why that physique gets them riled up, the reason why it touches that primal side, is because they want to feel a man's strength. That is what gets them off, is feeling those muscles, feeling that strength, being controlled, right? A lot of chicks are going to say out in public that they don't like that type of stuff. Read the damn novels. 50 Shades, what was that movie? 50 Shades of Grey. The guy on there, he wasn't super jacked. He wasn't no Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he was extremely in shape. Okay, they didn't cast a guy with a beer belly. They didn't cast a guy that was super overweight. And movies that do cast a guy that's super overweight and all that shit like that, he's got to do all of this stuff. He has to bend down to her. But if you noticed in that movie, 50 Shades of Grey, she was the one doing what he wanted. So that's the whole thing with being fit. It follows that fantasy of strength. It follows that fantasy of a woman being dominated by a man. It's subconscious. They like that domination. This is why a lot of these young ladies have fantasies with handcuffs and stuff like that, because that's it symbolizes the man's strength being imposed on her. And being in shape is a direct receipt, right? It's a direct physical representation of that. And that's why it fantasizes them. So a lot of guys are missing out a lot by thinking all they have to do is get a whole bunch of money. Yeah, if you get a whole bunch of money, you're going to be rich. But man, that has nothing to do with biological, natural, sexual attraction. I need you guys to understand this, for my guys that are listening and that are open-minded. If you take what I'm saying and run with it, you are going to see a day and night change. Now, when you go in certain spots, when you go in certain venues, you're going to be getting the eyes, right? You're going to be getting the elevator eyes from young ladies, like, I want you type of shit. Average guys are not going to see that. And when I say average, most guys, average nowadays means below average. Average nowadays is having a big ass beer belly and eating freaking a whole thing of nachos in one sitting and then washing it down with cheeseburgers. That's the average nowadays. So a lot of guys aren't going to see that. When you start getting in shape, when you really putting that work in, you're going to see that kind of sleazy side of women. When you walk in somewhere, she's going to be staring at you. You're going to be like, damn, shorty, you want to take a picture? This is real talk. Because she fantasizes about that type of stuff, and you are a living representation of that fantasy. Anyway, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.